Welcome to Mrs. Wright's Basement. Today we're going to be looking at sentence variety complex. Spice up your writing with different lengths and types of sentences. A lengthy type of sentence is the complex sentence. Here's how to write one. A complex sentence includes one independent clause. A clause has a subject and verb. When the clause is independent, the words form a complete thought. An independent clause by itself creates a simple sentence. The dog is doing the hiding, so the dog is the subject. The dog is hiding, or it hides, so hides is the verb. We have a subject and verb. It forms a complete thought. Our dog hides under my bed. I could add a period here and form a complete simple sentence. However, let's say that our dog hides under the bed only when thunder sounds. So I could tell that fact using the words when thunder sounds. Thunder is the subject in this clause. Thunder sounds. Sounds is the verb. If I just take and say thunder sounds, we know that that's a complete simple sentence. But I also have this connector, when thunder sounds. And if I read just that, we wonder, well, when thunder sounds, what happens? It's an incomplete thought, and it forms a dependent clause. It's dependent on adding an independent clause to it. So when we have both an independent joined with the connector to a dependent clause, we form our complex sentence. A complex sentence needs one independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses. Remember, a complex sentence has to have one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. This lengthy sentence has one independent clause, I headed toward the goalposts, and two dependent clauses, after I caught the pass and before I got tackled. A wonderfully descriptive, complex sentence. If you notice, there are special connectors that we use to join independent clauses with dependent clauses. Words such as after, if, when, even though, and our favorite word, because. We can write complex sentences in two ways. The two ways are to put the dependent clause first, followed by the independent clause, or put the independent clause followed by the dependent clause. If we put the dependent clause first with the connector up front, we must have a comma before the independent clause. When we put the independent clause first, followed by the dependent, there is no comma. This is the rule that causes the most red marks in college papers, so let's remember this rule. Here's another major error of college papers. Remember compound sentences? We use two complete sentences to join with a fanboy. There are only 7 fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. We always put a comma before the fanboy when we have a compound sentence. The error happens when we use a connector for a complex sentence, such as after. My little pony runs like the wind after my dad eats like a gorilla. Should we keep the comma when we write a complex sentence? No, we leave it out when the connector is in the middle. Why do we call these connectors subordinating conjunctions? Let's take a look. The reason they're called subordinating conjunctions is that when we tack them on to a group of words, they become less significant in meaning in the sentence. Let's take a look. In this sentence, skydiving is dangerous even though it is exciting. In this independent clause, we emphasize the fact that skydiving is dangerous. However, if we take a look at this sentence, skydiving is exciting even though it is dangerous, we are emphasizing the fact in the independent clause that skydiving is exciting, not as much as it is dangerous. Why do we use complex sentences in college papers? Remember the mantra, good writing has variety. When we want to slow down the pace of our writing, or we want to write more complex descriptive sentences, we use complex sentences. Everything in life can be written about if we have the guts and the imagination just to begin. Our worst foe to good writing is self-doubt. Welcome to Mrs. Wright's Basement. Today we're going to be looking at Comma Craze Part 1. Today we're going to be looking at Comma Craze Part 2. Today we're going to be looking at Comma Craze Part 3. Today we're going to be looking at It's All Relative with pronouns. Today we're going to be looking at demystifying who and whom. Today we're going to be looking at word choice. Good writing communicates clearly. Bad writing muddies the mind and isn't worth our time.